What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck. Real Cowboys fans, stand up. Hopefully, everyone's having a good Wednesday. We are live, man. We got free agency going on right now. The Dallas Cowboys are making moves, which we'll definitely talk about. But you guys know me, right? Y'all know me if you followed me long enough. And if you haven't, I'd like to say welcome to CFO Sports. I'm your host, Jay Tuck. Nice to meet you. Shake my hand, right? But I'm not really much of a free agency guy. You know, the Dallas Cowboys, we dibble and dabble a little bit when it comes to free agency, but y'all know my forte is the draft. I live, sleep, breathe the draft. But today, I have a real special guest because y'all know, man, I don't really trust everybody's cooking when it comes to draft content. You know, I always kind of turn a blind eye to it, turn my nose up at it. But this person here, you can definitely eat her cooking. She's incredible. She's the host of the Draft Club, the CEO of the Draft Network website. Like, she lives the draft. Here's how much she lives the draft. At the combine Saturday, when everybody was gone because it was offensive linemen, she was still there working. So she's been so kind to give us a few minutes of her time to join the show. So CFO gang, let's give a warm welcome to my girl, Paige. What's going on with you?
What's going on, man? I'm happy to be here. Obviously, you and I go back and forth on the draft all the time on Instagram. I think it's just back, forth, nonstop on just out of respect, just like you said in the intro. I quiet a lot of what everybody else says in the draft space because I trust what we're doing and our process. And I don't really like to look at what anybody else is doing until our process is done, quite frankly, just not to get interrupted. But you grind tape all year long, like we grind tape all year long. There's just like a certain amount of people that actually enjoy football enough to want to just learn about it all the time. And that means year over year, because what you knew last year doesn't apply necessarily this year, right? And that's the thing. That's the thing about the game that I love, and it's what I respect about what you do. So I'm happy to be here to talk about the draft.
I deeply appreciate it. And a lot of people don't understand, right? Because the draft content space is becoming trendier and trendier by the day. But they don't understand to really do things the right way. It takes a lot of work. Like, you really have to love it when you're up in the middle of the night on a Saturday watching Georgia State fail. Like, it's just a weird obsession that we have to have. It's almost a sickness where I explain it's like studying for a major exam, because once the draft is over, I'm just like, oh, relief. I can kind of just breathe a little bit because my mind is still taking it. But y'all can tell by the hat. You know, y'all can tell by the hat every day is draft day. And she definitely eats, sleeps, breathes the NFL draft. But, you know, tell me a little bit before we start talking about your story. Like, how did you get into the game of football? I know you were a Cornhusker. I actually never been – saw the Big Red play. Well, actually, I saw them play here in Kansas City, but I've never been out to the Lincoln. That's where all my family's from, and like I just never been. So what is that experience like, and how did you get into the game of football?
Yeah, I'll take you back to when I was actually in grammar school. So I'm in elementary school, and so while I was living, my parents split, and I was raised by my father. So from in 7th grade, we move in with my dad full time. So imagine I'm like 11 years old, right? My brother's 9. Well, my brother's playing hockey and baseball and basketball. And so now I started playing hockey and baseball and basketball, not in the leagues, but to practice. I was just an extra on all the teams with my dad and my brother. I had my own baseball glove. I had my own bat. I had my own football stuff. I held kicks for my dad. I played all-time QB. And so it just, out of nature, I fell in love with all sports. Really, I love all professional sports. I have all the teams in Chicago I follow like to the T. But football is such a team sport, and that's why I fell in love with football. I fell in love playing with my dad and my brother at a really young age. And then in high school, it was right as social media was starting. So there weren't highlight tapes like there are now. And you needed people, you needed friends to help you out. So in high school, I offered to do the mixtapes for the football team. And that's how I got started, man. That was it.
There you go. A lot of people don't understand it, right? You know, it used to be now like self is my old man. You can get your film out so easily these days. Just post an Instagram reel. But back then we had to have VHS, cut it up, put a little music behind it, and then send it out and just hope that a coach actually just opens up the mail to see it. Like, you're definitely an integral part of that. So it's good to know you coming from that sports background, because I see the Michael Jordan behind you, right? So Chicago based. So Chicago Bears bloodline, I assume. Was that the team that you grew up idolizing with your father and your brother?
Oh yeah, it's all Bears all the time. My dad was a season ticket holder. My first swear words were all learned by sitting on the 6-yard line. That was, we just every week going down there. Some of my best memories. I think that's one of the best things about sports is how it brings families together. And I think
Mhm.
one of the things that made me fall in love with the game, going to Soldier Field, freezing your ass off, didn't matter how cold it was. Dad was putting us in little parkas. And I remember all the heckling. I remember all the times that we came back and won games. I think people talk about favorite players, and I'm always like Mike Brown, because literally
Uh-huh.
we were down 2 touchdowns against Cleveland, came back, and they were chanting Harry Potter at this Cleveland Browns fan to just
Uh-huh.
heckle him to get him to leave. Like, that's what, to me, that's the best part about football is just the community, how everybody acts around each other. So easy to fall in love with this game. So easy to fall
Yeah,
in love with this game.
it's the family, it's the bond, right? I've met so many people watching the show right now, but just at Cowboys games, like it's something when I get to Dallas, I just feel like I'm home
Yeah.
because I'm around my people. It's probably the same when you're Chicago. I've never been to Soldier Field, but I was at the draft in 2016, the Dak draft,
Okay.
the Dak and
Yep.
Zeke draft, and I
Yep.
was like, all right, this is a place to be. It was a little chilly out there,
Yeah.
Dallas, we like things warm and indoor,
100%.
you know.
Yeah. It's a
So
little different. I came down. As much as I love Chicago, and and if you come, we'll do it right. We'll make sure you get a proper tailgating experience.
okay.
Maybe the Cowboys and the Bears play. But I
Man,
came from,
last year I could have came, but y'all
yeah,
embarrassed us. Y'all were
yeah.
throwing flea flickers all over us.
Ah, listen, I've waited a long time to embarrass people. I've waited a long time, like my whole life, my whole grown up life, to hopefully have one moment like we had last year.
There you go. Salute to Luther Bird. Luther Bird, one of my favorite
Whoa.
players in last year's draft, and he's had to have a coming out party versus Dallas Cowboys. So I'm like, here they go.
It's kind of like playing the Knicks in the Garden. Everybody
Mhm.
just gets up for the moment. They know you're probably going to be on national TV. They're going to be showing Jerry in the box, and there's nothing better as an opposing team than putting that sad ass look on Jerry Jones's face. Like he's like rubbing his head and he's putting his head down, and you're like, yeah, he's about to go yell at Steven. Yeah, this is that moment. He's about to turn around and start yelling. That's what you live for as a non-Cowboys
Hey,
fan.
well, people have to understand, right? I get the wanting to embarrass Jerry Jones, but we ain't did nothing. Us Cowboys fans, we ain't did nothing to nobody. Why we have to take on some of that pain and
I
some of that hurt
know.
that we have to suffer year after year because of what's going on with Jerry. But it's
Listen,
unfortunate.
I feel for y'all. I feel for y'all. I will tell you, I was with Bruce Arians at a owners meeting back here in Phoenix when he was out here. And probably one of the most interesting people I've ever been around is Jerry Jones. Like sitting
Mhm.
in a circle, hearing that man tell a story, command an entire room like full of, you're talking all alphas, right? These are all
Right.
head coaches, general managers, other owners, and they're all within that alpha space. Jerry's an alpha still,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like that, I mess with like that aura, that energy when he pulls up. Now, you may not like what he has to say, right?
Right.
In the
Yeah.
aura, it's this stuff that happens after the aura goes away. And that's the part where I feel for you Cowboys fans, because I had Virginia McCaskey up until rest her soul, she passed away. I knew
Mhm.
things were going to be hard for Bears,
Mhm.
just that old school way of running things. And unless Jerry gives up the reins, man, it's tough. It's tough for
Yeah.
Cowboys fans.
And that's the thing, as upset as us Cowboys fans get at Jerry, he just has that gift of gab. He has that
Yes,
it's that salesmanship. I remember through the whole
100%.
shut downs in the NFL, he was talking about, well, technically you can't get sick at AT&T Stadium because of the airflow trap. And there was a part of me actually was like started to
Believe
believe it.
it.
Hold on, wait. That's not how it works. Like this is an airborne virus, Jerry. But for a minute, Jerry's gift of gab had me sold that if we go to games at AT&T, we'll be perfectly fine, man. So
And
salute to Jerry. I met him a few
all,
times as well. And as soon as you shake his hand, you just forget,
yeah, you're like,
about all the
whatever I wanted to say a little bit ago,
yeah.
that's gone out the window. And I meant to say, we were starting to talk about this, and I forgot to finish my point, but the Cowboys experience, I've been to all 32 teams,
Okay.
every stadium. As much as people have tried to replicate Jerry World, not one has done it. Like it is still such an experience going to a Cowboys fan like game. And that's the one thing, like, at least as a Cowboys fan, like you don't want to be embarrassed on the football field, and you don't want to be embarrassed in how your team like is branded, right? And how they
Mhm.
represent themselves. The Cowboys brand is always elite.
Top notch.
Always. Marketing wise, the way they do things, the always being a disruptor. That version of Jerry we all mess with. It's the full operations Jerry that we all want to just stop. Right. And
Yeah,
if you could get both of those at the same time, Cowboys, it's
exactly.
it'll make all the rest of us want to puke, just so you guys
Yeah,
know. Nobody else
exactly.
can really enjoy that.
Exactly. A lot of people don't understand. We are spoiled as Cowboys fans. Like even me, when I go to other stadiums, I'm just like, okay, we got to share interest with everybody. Where's the leather seats? Wait, I have to go to the concession stand. Y'all don't deliver here. Like, what's going on, right? So we are spoiled when Jerry comes to luxury. We just need to get a little bit spoiled when it comes to the win. Now, like I said, CEO of the Draft Network, co-host of the Draft Club, all that fun stuff. But when it comes to the draft, what is it about the draft for you specifically, Paige, that you just love? I know for me, it's a various of different reasons, but what is it about for you that you just really love the draft?
The draft is, and as corny as maybe people want to call me, it's that moment of watching every young man's dream come true every single year. It is one of the only pure things left in football. Literally, it is. It's one of the only, because college football now with the kids getting paid and NIL, there's very little that seems still just like kind of perfect. And it's one of those things it's how it is. It's how it is.
Yeah, and that's what people don't understand. I think if you have to actually go there and experience it, you see it. Now, remember that 2016 draft in Chicago was in the auditorium, and Chris Jones got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and he came down the auditorium. I was standing on the edge. He hugged me and squeezed, and I feel like he broke bones in my body, but he was just so happy for his life-changing moment, right? Jalen Carter, so it's so crazy once you're around it, and it just makes you, it's a different feeling.
It's hard. So you said Jalen Carter, and I'm glad you did, because one of the things that happens every year with the partnership that we've had with Panini is I get to be backstage to do interviews with these guys right after they come off the stage, right? Which is like such an emotional moment. And you think about Jalen Carter and you think about this monster of a human being, right? So I've seen him, I've watched his tape, he's coming off the stage. And I mean, he takes 2 steps, bear hugs me, and is just bawling in my shoulder. And I'm like looking around like, what the hell? Like, because it's like the first time I met this kid, but I was just like, hey man, how are you doing? And he just broke down and it was just like, man, all the stress, all the anxiety, all the things that were being said about him during that draft process, how hard it was. That moment, that's what I love about the draft. It's the pressure and then rising to the occasion for the pressure that happens. Because these young men, sometimes this pressure started when they were 4 years old and their grandma or their mom or their brother or their sister told them, you're going to be the one to get us out of here, right? And then living up to that is insane. So that's why I love the draft, man. I love the draft.
Yeah, it's just emotional. I encourage every NFL fan to go experience the draft. It's a free event, go to Pittsburgh, but just being around the energy and seeing those players, it's a special moment. That's why I love it. And especially some of these kids that really don't get the spotlight that no one's talking about. That's where I find the most fun to be able to say, okay, there's this kid, at,
small school,
Utah. That no one's talking about, right? But I really love his film, and that's where the fun starts. Now, we were talking about it backstage, right? Free agency has begun. We're going through this whole spectacle, and Maxx Crosby, right? He was traded to the Ravens. The Ravens said he failed the physical. They backed out. They went and got Trey Hendrickson. So what is your thoughts on this Maxx Crosby saga? How do you think it ends? And do you think Jerry pulls it off by chance? give us some. We're all waiting to know. Like, is there a chance, right, that Jerry has a trick up his sleeve?
So we'll start with what I think about the situation. So the reality is, when you put logic, this isn't tinfoil. You just put logic hat on, right? This deal gets done early. It gets done last Friday, right? So it gets done before the weekend starts and before all real free agency official reporting started, which was Monday morning. So they had an entire weekend to think about this, right? And I think that's where you had an entire weekend, and then that the physical isn't going to happen until Tuesday, right? That's when Maxx gets out there, even though they offered the deal on Friday. So you're thinking, oh yeah, maybe it would happen Saturday. It doesn't. It happens not until the following week, which gives the Ravens all this time to sit around and think about what they just did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody that follows the draft, you know that what happened was so out of character for the Baltimore Ravens. It was they don't do the we're offering up our first round picks thing. They do the we're going to draft good players thing. So this was so like, oh my God, okay, the Ravens are doing this. This is a big surprise. This wasn't a team we all talked about. They came out of left field. Well, they thought about that. And then the opening happens. Trey Hendrickson doesn't go on a big deal. It gets to day 2. The values come down. They're going, okay, we got to have him in. They knew he was going to fail the physical. He had surgery 8 weeks ago. This was not an unknown thing. They knew that. So, but now they have an excuse to back out of this deal, not give up their first round pick, and give Trey Hendrickson a 4-year deal. I mean, they didn't even cover their tracks, man. It's so obvious what happened. Like, they didn't cover their tracks.
Buyer's remorse, right? And I
was like,
understand.
y'all are joking, right?
You know, I've done it. I do it the other day. I bought a brand new treadmill, and then something said, Tuck, you already have a treadmill. You don't need another one. And it's March. It's not. So I'm trying to cancel it on Amazon, right? So I get it, right? I got caught up in the moment. I bought the treadmill, realizing it's walking season here in Kansas City. So I understand. But now Maxx Crosby is back officially in Vegas. What do you think happens next? I'm hearing some teams are starting to call Vegas. From the Cowboys standpoint, Cowboys Nation, it sounds like, so maybe we could get our buyer's remorse and Rashawn Gary because, I don't know. But what do you think happens next with the Maxx Crosby saga?
Yeah, so I don't think any of the other deals, and we've seen a lot of them go official already, none of those other deals are going to do what the Max deal was. It was just such a very strange thing. And I was telling you off camera, and I'll kind of finish the thought now, which was I've talked to between 12 to 15 different executives, personnel members, and coaches in the last 24 hours. And they're all reaching out because they're pissed off. This is a very bad look for the Baltimore Ravens to go back on what is basically a handshake deal, guys. For those of you that don't know that, that's what every report that comes out on Monday is, a handshake deal until Wednesday afternoon when the actual time frame opens. So to go back on something that is universally known to be true, the rest of the league is kind of pissed off is the right word, I would say. And so you have the Raiders meeting. They're trying to figure out, because then they go on and make all these different moves based off of a move they thought was happening. So their cap situation, what they projected, they're lucky they had so much cap space. Otherwise, this would have put them potentially in a tough spot, because now the value for Crosby is not going to be 2 first-round picks. They can't. It's not going to happen. And as of what we know, the most that was offered was a first and a second from the Cowboys. So that was the highest that anybody else had gone. And then the Ravens offered up the 2 ones and got the deal over the edge. It was immediate. I don't think that any team's going to do that. I don't think the Bears are going to do that. I've talked to them. I know they have been a final team in this whole saga as well. But now that he failed the physical, whether it's, which I'm being just totally honest, they knew he was going to fail the physical. There's no way. I've been in the team facility for these physicals 1,000 times. They knew that. Trey Hendrickson, by the way, also had core surgery 8 weeks ago and is going to fail his physical, and it's not going to matter. They're going to pass him anyways, right? So this is how this goes, just so the fans have an understanding. But I think the reality is, anybody, as much as I saw Diana Rossini put out a report and a couple other reporters that, the Cowboys are officially not interested. Jerry loves to tell everybody he's not interested, and then he's back interested. It's what he does best. He's a salesman. This is, I don't want you, so I can come back and renegotiate at a lower price. That's what he's doing. He's a good businessman. It's a good move.
Absolutely. And plus, if he can get Max for cheaper than what he originally offered, then
that's what I mean.
Like a super genius. So, for me personally, if I'm the Cowboys, I do make a play for Maxx Crosby, because from a Jerry Jones standpoint, you can say, you know what? I flipped Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark, Quentin Williams, and Maxx Crosby. Then you have even more aura when you're in front of those owners at those meetings. So, and also it helps your defense tremendously adding Max, right? I know a lot of people talk about, he's older. He's an upgrade over anything that we have here in Dallas. So I would definitely make that move. And honestly, I mean, the first and the second, Osa Digiazua, I would just call Vegas and say, hey, man, what's going on? So this is the best you got. So we'll have to see how it unfolds. But from Max's standpoint, you said your goodbyes to Vegas.
I know. It's awkward. It's awkward. I think that's the part I feel the most kind of upset about the perspective of is that nobody's talking about how shitty this is for Maxx, right? This is horrible. Like, you were traded, you said your goodbyes, you did your bye on your podcast, you said like you started to think about your family moving, you went to Baltimore. It's going to be interesting to see how this, kind of shakes out, because I think there's going to be some serious conversations with the PA about this, how this was handled. Because from a player perspective, they're pissed off, man. This is not a good look. It's not Lamar's pissed off. You've got like everybody being aggravated that this was a deal that was done, reported on, signed, sealed, delivered. And the reality is Baltimore found a cheaper deal and a better one. That's it. That's all this was about. And exactly they can pretend every other which way. Do not get it twisted. I've covered this league for a long time. That's exactly what happened. That is exactly
oh my God, he was fat. He did pass a physical. I mean, it's Maxx Crosby, right? Like, who cares,
Come
right?
on, bro. We knew about the meniscus surgery. This wasn't a surprise, man. Like, I was like, we're acting like, ooh, he was injured. Like, bro, we knew he was injured.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
that was but I get it. But it's going to be interesting, right, to see if there's going to be something that comes down, because you can't have this going across the league, because like you said, for the Raiders, they started making moves in consideration that he was gone. Yep. Now he's back, and now you might have to move him on for less than the value you thought you were going to get. So we'll see how it all unfolds, man. Appreciate everyone in the chat, man. Make sure y'all get those likes up, get those shares up. We have a gym today. Y'all see, she knows her stuff, right? You know her stuff. Now, Cowboys Nation, I brought her here for this one specific reason, right? Because she was having these conversations online, and I was like, well, maybe I can help you a little bit so you can talk directly to Cowboys fans, because like Maxx Crosby, the Dallas Cowboys have their own situation to handle this year when it comes to our wide receiver 1A and George effing Pickens. And now you had stated that for the Dallas Cowboys, signing George Pickens would be a bad idea. And that's where I saw the comments and I said, oh, Lord. So allow you to elaborate. Why do you think the Dallas Cowboys signing George Pickens would be a bad deal for the Dallas Cowboys?
Because I would like the Dallas Cowboys to look no further than a team that has a better version of their offense and a similar situation on defense could not win a Super Bowl, because it's not an attainable way to win. And that's the totality of your roster. And I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, which are the Dallas Cowboys North. Okay. And this is the situation that you have to watch and understand. You have an injury-prone quarterback. Dak Prescott's the highest paid quarterback. He's had multiple injuries. He's missed multiple years. This is not, you do not have a quarterback that is of availability should be counted on. Okay. So that's your first major problem there, right? With Dak and that situation. You also already paid a number one wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens wants number one money. That is exactly what happened in Cincinnati. They played Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who I'm not taking anything away from the player. I agree with you that these guys are super talented, but paying two number one wide receivers is inherently not logical. Do you hear the number one? Number one, as in there should be one of them in your room, not two. You should not pay two. Why? Because then your roster is depleted on other parts of the game. And for the Cincinnati Bengals, it's been much as the same as the Dallas Cowboys. You cannot win in this league when you are terrible on defense, when you cannot stop the run, when you have no good cornerbacks who couldn't catch an interception if they tried. These are the problems, right? And it's roster. Your roster is not good enough. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles from top to bottom in your own division, look at the defense and look at your defense. They have two wide receivers who are technically ones. Look at how they did it. But you can't have two. You can't pay two guys that much money. It's not a winning recipe. It's not Madden. You're not playing Madden. I need everybody to remember you have to protect your quarterback, especially when he's injury prone, which Dak Prescott is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to protect him and you have to play defense, man. The best version of this offense was when Ezekiel Elliott was running behind an elite offensive line and Dak did not have to throw the ball 40 times. That was an elite offense. It was so good. I haven't seen it.
So that makes perfect sense. And because when I started asking Cowboys fans this question, it seems like when it comes to signing George Pickens, a lot of Cowboys fans like sign him. But then when you mention the price, that's when like, oh, wait, he's going to go for top of. So I think a lot of people don't understand that George Pickens is going for top of the market money. I think they think that he's going to settle for a cool little 30s right around. Like he's not going to do that because the market is the market. So when I ask Cowboys fans that question, I'm like, okay, what is the sticker price when it comes to George Pickens? And when I say 40, that's when people say, oh, no, Tuck, we can't do that, which they would agree with you. Now, me personally, I'm on the opposite end, right? Do I think the Dallas Cowboys should sign George Pickens? Yes. Because I feel like even though we're all chest and no legs, right, as you kind of mentioned, that's just who we are, right? I know what you're saying. I've been trying to get a solid run game, get a dominant defense, and like stop having Dak throwing 40 times. I just know the way that this team is constructed. That's just who we're going to be. So I feel like if you're going to lean so heavily on the offense, you might as well just go all in on the offense, because I don't think they're going to go get a Maxx Crosby or get any high price ticket guys on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to try to build that through the draft because they think that's their specialty to lean on. So that's why me personally, but I understand what you're saying from a roster standpoint. It really doesn't make sense because people say Philly paid AJ Brown, but understand that one, they signed Smitty to extension early, and he didn't go for top wide receiver,
of the market,
right?
Correct.
So it's a different type of situation, but I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
It's fun. Oh, listen, 100%. It's really fun to watch. Just understand that when you're sold the idea that you can be a Super Bowl team, it is a lie. Because you cannot have a bottom 15 defense and win in this league. It is not going to happen. So if you guys draft really well, that would be one thing. But you hit or miss on your draft picks over the last few years, and that's a big part of it. And that to the comment that I read down there right now, they try to lean on their draft picks, but unfortunately, their draft picks have been pretty shitty lately.
Besides offensive line, we're good at the offensive line. So that's the one thing we do better than Cincinnati. We can build an offensive
100%.
Right?
You guys can do that part. And that's what saved you, honestly, from bottoming out, because you've been able to protect Dak better than Cincinnati's been able to. But your defenses have mirrored each other, where you're just you're missing on your draft picks. You're overdrafting the capital that you do have on defense, and you're not developing guys. I think that's been the thing with the defense. That's, when you think of a Leighton Vander Esch and a Hart, like some tougher guys that have early 5-10 years ago, but you need a tone setter. And I know that they got Quinn and Williams, but
sent them away.
You sent them away. You had the tone setter, and then you sent them away. So that's where I was like, okay, you need a guy like a Maxx Crosby, because it's Myles Garrett to me, Micah Parsons, and him. Like and Maxx Crosby. Like it's those three. Right. They're in an upper echelon. TJ Watt flirts with that, but that is the echelon that they wreck the game. They impact the game. They make wins and losses change, and you see it. The motor that Maxx Crosby has is insane. That would change the dynamic for the Cowboys, because quite frankly, I think Dak, even as a leader, he's so nice. He's such a nice guy. He's so relaxed. You kind of need a dude to come in there and be like, listen, this soft shit is not working anymore. Okay. Right. We need to toughen up. We're in the NFC East. We're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. We're playing the Washington. We need to hit somebody in the mouth, man.
Right.
And
I think that's what GP3 gives us, right? He gives us that lightning rod, that 100%. Fire on offense. Now we just need it on defense. And it looks like by the chat, Osa Digiazua just got moved to the 49ers. So not sure what for, but that's another defensive piece that was moved on. But if you think about it, how that's reflecting right now, the guy we paid last year on the defense, we just moved on from him, versus the face of the Dallas Cowboys defense. We moved on from him. So it's going to be interesting to see how Christian Parker is going to shape things up moving forward. Now, speaking of the draft, before I let you go, if you're sitting at 12, right, you mentioned the defense, we got to fix the defense. Also, we have the 20th pick. What would be your thought process, and what do you think would be the best fit for the Dallas Cowboys? And do you think they have to go defense with their 2 first-round picks?
If they don't, I think the only way that I would see them not doing that is if this Maxx Crosby situation plays out, right? Is if you're giving up one of those ones, right? And you're gonna think of that as defense, right? And that checks the box enough, right? But I don't think that there's if they don't get Maxx, which is the world that we're living in right now, right? So I think that's
Mhm.
more than likely that they don't end up getting Crosby. I think they might, but I wouldn't count on it. Is they got to use those picks on defense, especially just when you're talking about the money that they're inherently going to spend on this offense. You got to hit, and you got to hit early on these draft picks.
Mhm.
You can't afford, because you just don't have the financial capability to add those guys, right? Looks like you guys got a third round pick. So that's
Much
nice.
needed. Right.
This is great draft capital you guys are building up on. You just got to hit now, right? Like
Mhm.
now it's like, okay, you got to trust your process. You got to go and you got some good draft capital here to be able to mix and match here. This is a good class across the board defensively. I know there's a lot of people every year. I want to tell everyone every year I hear it's going to be a quarterback draft, and every year it's not. Okay.
Mhm.
Happens every year. It was going to be this year. Now everybody's telling me it's going to be 2027. It'll be 2028 that it's supposed to be after that. Every
Right.
class has great talent. This draft is no different. I hate that people are downplaying this draft. Like, oh, we're
Mhm.
just kicking the can to 2027. Why? For quarterbacks? A lot of teams don't need quarterbacks right now. My
Right.
team don't need a quarterback. Your team doesn't
Yeah.
need a quarterback. So I'm
Mhm.
excited about this draft because there's a lot of talent across the other positions, and it may not be as sexy to everybody else. There's some damn good linemen in this draft. I saw a lot of them
Mhm.
down in Mobile. There's some good corners. There's some good safeties. The Dallas Cowboys need about just about everything on defense. So they better use
Yeah.
as much draft capital as possible on defense.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the reason why a lot of people aren't super attracted about this draft because there's not the big names that were
Yes.
separated. Last year we had, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, and let's go like the big
Yep.
Shador Sanders, the big marquee names. You really have to kind of be locked in on the draft to understand some of these prospects because a lot of the tags are really tangled because you're looking at a
Mm-hmm.
player like Sonny Styles. That was a guy that we were mocked heavily after the combine. I don't think he's going to be there, right? So, what does that happen to mean for Arvell Reese? Does he possibly get pushed back? Like, what happens to Ohio State guys? Like,
Yep.
so there's a lot of different, Jamar McCoy, the injury. So, does he go earlier? Is it going to be Mansour Lane? Now you're seeing, Dylan Thienen and so you're seeing all this different changing, but it's not big attractive names. But when you think about game changers defensively, game wreckers, 12 and 20, what would be two players you would kind of coin like, okay, that's what the Dallas Cowboys are missing? Because I think this is where I get stuck because now I don't know if those guys are going to be there anymore.
I think that's where I would stick with that 20 spot, right? I think in our latest mock draft, I think we may have Zion Young going there, and he's a guy that
Okay.
we spent a lot of time with in at the Senior Bowl, and a guy we saw again at the Combine. Guy whose tape is really impressive,
Mhm.
really impressive. That Missouri defense was really damn good. For those of you that
Mhm.
haven't gotten an opportunity to watch them, that was a really good college football team this year amongst the canvas of really bad, honestly, as a
Mhm.
whole. The tape was just all over the place with the transfer portal and how things are
Mhm.
impacting the game. But yeah, that's a guy that we really like. I think you need to assume you're not getting a pass rusher, and so you're gonna need
Mhm.
guys who get to the ball,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's what this team needs. You need the ability to change the game with turnovers and sacks, and you haven't had that. You had it, you traded it away. It was a glaringly obvious issue this past year when you watch the lack of pressure that was able to be put on the team. And in this league, especially right now, the only way to stop guys like Patrick Mahomes is to get in their face, to get pressure
Yeah.
on those guys and turn and flip the field. And that's you got to get some of those guys in this draft.
Yeah. Because it feels like we fixed one thing and then broke the other, right? Because
Yes.
coming this time into the season last year, we had edges, right? We got Dante Fowler, we had Micah Park, like so we were perfectly fine at the edge position. We were all
Yep.
screaming, "Hey, we have to fix the interior." Now we feel like we're kind of overloaded in the interior, and
Interior.
now we have to fix the perimeter. So it's kind of like ham with no burger, as they would say, So it's
Yeah.
like, how do you really fix it? But then the conversation goes, okay, who would be a player worthy at 12 that
Yeah.
could kind of give you that? If David Bailey's gone, Ruben Bain is
Yeah.
gone,
It's
then
hard
you're
to
starting.
it's
Yeah,
reach. I think you're reaching at 12 more than
yeah,
likely. And that's why I
yeah.
said wait to 20 and get one of these other guys that I think is really good, for guys that we have in the first round, guys that
Mhm,
really disrupted the Senior Bowl one-on-ones, man. There was so
mhm,
much really aggressiveness that was happening down on the line. It was so that's why I was like, this is a great draft. There's a lot of
right,
great people on both sides of the line, a lot of grimy football players. Um,
mhm,
I think Maxx better be on the way. I think he means he's talking about Maxx from ASU, I assume.
I think you're talking about Maxx Crosby, because for me personally, I would say, hey, let those picks fly for Maxx, because I think we desperately
So
need
you'd
it.
give up you'd give up this year's both first to go get him?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I
I
honestly
think
would, because
that's better than having to offer a first this year and next year, right? Like you guys are in a position with the 2 firsts this year where it's like, okay, you're done now for this year. You don't have to worry about another guy.
We have a third, right? You could go get Maxx. That's pretty much your first round pick, right?
Yes.
Use the third. We got 2 fifths from comp picks. So now you got some breathing room day 2, where you can go get you a linebacker as well, plug it in, and then go get you maybe a corner or 2, and then be going with it. So that's me personally, because I just feel like, if you're telling me what I'd rather have, Maxx Crosby or Keem Messidor, I like Keem Messidor, right? It's just like, it's Maxx Crosby, right?
It's Maxx Crosby. It's a sure thing.
It's just like, you have an opportunity to do it. Maxx would be the only guy I would really consider to make that move for, and he's available. He's available right now. He might be available.
I would expeditiously.
Exactly. You got to, because I just think that is what we're missing, right? I think Quentin Williams is phenomenal. Kenny Clark is playing well, but you just need that guy that makes
dude, man. You have to. You got to have a dude. If you watch Maxx Crosby's tape, it is some of the most magnificent tape you will ever watch, because this man's motor never stops. To the end of the play, he will be on the opposite side of the field, come all the way across, chase somebody down at the end of the play. Makes no sense why he gets all the way around to where he gets before there's anybody else on the line that gets up. He's just, man, I want him for the Bears, bro. Okay, I'm like, I'm the competition right now.
Instagram recruiting, right? I think everybody is secretly recruiting Maxx, so it's like, hey,
100%.
I gotta jump online real quick and recruit Maxx to come to Dallas. Hey, I need it, because I just think this is what the Cowboys are missing. If you sign George Pickens, right, and then you turn around and get Maxx, all right, now you sprinkle a few draft picks on top of it, you can really get right back to action. But speaking of your Bears, what do you think is the pick for you guys that will probably be helping push you guys to the next level? Because you guys stole my coach from me. That's who I wanted last year, in Ben Johnson. But Ben Johnson didn't even want to meet with us, so congratulations.
Yeah, he knew he didn't want to meet with Jerry, brother. That's what that's about. That has nothing to do with Cowboys fans. That has everything to do with him knowing the amount of shenanigans that the head coach of the Cowboys got to deal with.
I'm good.
And he's the bell of the ball, man. He was like, nah, I ain't dealing with that. I'm gonna go to Chicago. But I would like to see them go, depending on how things get addressed here, because they obviously had a really, unexpected retirement from Drew Dahlman, which put them in the position to have to be in to go get Garrett Bradbury very early to shore that up. But I would like to see them potentially go with, the best available offensive lineman at that position at the end, because they're obviously drafting towards the end of the first round. I'm obviously mostly in favor of them using that first round pick and potentially next year's second to get Maxx Crosby, which is what I hope happens.
She's trying to hustle us. See? You better do it before somebody else does.
I'm trying to hustle. This is called manifestation. Okay. It's speaking it into existence. I want Ryan Poles to offer a first round and second round pick for Maxx Crosby. And if that happens, you better believe I'm going to come clip this up and tell Bears fans I manifested this. Okay. And if not, we'll give J Tuck credit for the Cowboys manifestation. Okay, so
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I used all my 3 wishes. I think I'm out right now. So Jerry dries up my 3 wishes early in the year. So hopefully, if you can hear me up there, I would manifest Maxx Crosby in Dallas by all means. But I just think he's a phenomenal player, and somebody's going to do it. And
somebody's
personally. I just don't want it to be in our division, because I know Howie Roseman could pick up the phone easily and make that move. So right now,
can't let that happen, Jerry. I beg of you, Jerry, if you listen to anything on the internet, because I know he listens to a lot of this stuff. He really does. He loves it. He's addicted to hearing about the Cowboys. That's how this goes. He's up at night reading, listening, learning about everything Cowboys fans hear. For the love of God, Jerry, do this deal. Brother, this is such an obvious deal. You cannot, if Howie Roseman out snipes the Cowboys again, Oh, I don't know that he'll be able to handle it. I don't.
Yeah.
He's gotta just Jerry, you gotta overspend, baby. You
This
just
is the one.
you gotta do it,
Exactly.
man.
So
You
there it is. So
gotta do it, Jerry.
that's the page I need, right? Overspend, blow the budget, blow it on
Because
GP,
you do it
blow
on
it
a
on
bunch other
Max.
you do it
You
on a
know,
bunch other shenanigans. So Dak Prescott's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That didn't need to happen. I mean, it's like, come on. So you're used
yeah.
to this. You've got extra capital. The part of this that he never does is the free agency part, and it's a crucial part of building a
Mhm.
winning team. It's become more crucial really over the last few years, the amount of free agents that have been a part of a Super Bowl run, how important and
Mhm.
impactful. He's used to relying on, I didn't have to win with the salary cap, so he could spend more than everybody else in the 90s.
Mhm.
And they were really good at the draft. Well, guess what? You got to be good at the draft and free agency now.
Yep.
It's a key
Yep.
component. The LA Rams don't get what they got. The Bucks don't get their Super Bowl without the free agency component. You got to be good
Mhm.
at both sides. And that's the
Yeah.
part the Cowboys really have suffered because Jerry's refusal to get involved in, we're going to draft Cowboys and make them Cowboys and stay Cowboys. And it's like, brother,
Mhm.
that's not how you win in the current status of football. And he's finally come
Right.
along to that. This is the first
Yeah.
year that he, I think, is going to make a collective effort to be involved in, like, the fact the Cowboys offered a 1 and a 2 is crazy. I was like,
Mhm.
wow,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
Jerry's actually going to
that's
do
what I'm
it.
saying. So,
He's going
and
to do
here's
it.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think this season, hopefully, it knocked a few screws loose and Jerry started to remember who he was, because think about it. You made the trade for George Pickens, instant impact, right?
I
You went
know.
and made the trade for Quentin Williams, instant impact. So that's who Jerry is. That's why
Yeah.
I grew up a Cowboys fan, loving the Cowboys, because I was seeing those big major moves. Jerry do one more, and I think this will actually tip things in the right direction for the Dallas Cowboys. But hey, Paige, thanks for joining us. I don't want to keep you all day. I know you're extremely busy.
It's all good.
Before I let you go, what is a player that might not be talked about as much that you maybe saw at the Senior Bowl or the Combine that you're keeping your eyes on? Like I said, you do an incredible job at this draft stuff too. But what is a few names that the community should know about that you don't think is given the proper spotlight?
So I'll start off with Nebraska running back Emmett Johnson, a kid who I got to spend a lot of time around, and his tape is so good, man. His
Mhm.
tape is so good, and I challenge you to see a better pass catching back, even Jeremiah Love included. He catches
Mhm.
500 passes every day. He goes out on the Monarch
Mhm.
machine. This is a kid I spent probably 2 hours with. He came up, hung out, me and our coach Matt Rule. We had a good conversation, just getting to know him, and just a grown up, a kid of an immigrant. They came over when he was 8 years old from Iberia. Just a really interesting background. Has fought his entire life for everything,
Mhm.
and you can see that on his tape, man. He fights for
Mhm.
every inch, every yard. It's a guy who, because the two Notre Dame backs are really being talked about, it's really
Mhm.
nobody else in this running back class. And he's a special kid. He's a special kid that
Mhm.
can run and catch the ball, which you got to be this time. Look at a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? That went and
Mhm.
so impactful to
Absolutely.
that team. So, and then another kid, Chris McClellan, I talked about his teammate earlier on the defensive line. I can't even tell you the last time I was so impressed in an interview with a young man. Spent 45 minutes with him at the Senior Bowl in our player lounge. Just a grown up, a grown up.
Mhm.
Just the way he answers things, the way he handles things, his impact in his family, his impact in his community in Tulsa. Clutch Sports, and this is a shout out to my girl Nicole Lynn. She's very
Mhm.
particular about the types of young men that she represents. She doesn't represent any knuckleheads, as I would say.
Mhm.
He's a guy that's represented by Nicole, and it's for a reason. It shows in how
Mhm.
he commands himself, how he handles himself. And that's not something that you can always attribute to the defensive line position. So it's
Mhm.
honestly really a really good guy. And Emmett is the real deal. I like that. I got a
Yeah.
Husker amongst the group, but he is. He is,
Yeah.
man. We're sad to lose him. Sad to lose him. He's
Yeah.
unbelievable this year.
Yeah, I got
Unbelievable
to
this
watch
year.
Emmett here in Kansas City when they played. Was it Cincinnati they played here at
Yeah,
Arrowhead?
at the
So
at yep, at the to open the
yeah,
year this year.
some new bowl they came up with. Yeah. So
Some
yeah,
some
phenom
fake Patrick Mahomes bowl because Dylan Raiola was there
yeah,
at the time with our
exactly.
coordinator.
Yeah. I
It
was
was
like,
weird.
it was just some random bowl they created, right? And they were just like, hey, want to cover? Come like, what bowl is this? Right. But it was packed, right? The
All
Cornhusker
Husker
fans
fans,
definitely
man.
traveled. So yeah, everybody, it was a sea of red, just just like on Sundays for the Chiefs. Well, hey, Paige, thank you for joining us. For everyone who wants to follow, learn more about you, get your more, like I said, y'all know me. Y'all follow me long enough, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't never recommend nobody when it comes to draft, but I'm definitely recommending her when it comes to draft content. Where can they follow you?
I appreciate that, Tug. I appreciate that. So you can follow, obviously, the website is thedraftnetwork.com. So that's everything and anything that's being written, obviously, podcasted or videoed about. You guys can follow us at the Draft Network on every social media. And then I'm the sports page, _sports page with an I. So that's how you can find me. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. And the same for the Draft Network. Same for the Draft Network.
Give her a follow. She's definitely working. Like, she had an event at the Super Bowl. I didn't get to attend it. It was like, that's why it's like it's right next door. But she's definitely working, staying busy, doing a great job, incredible job. So keep up the great work. All right. Thanks. Cowboys Nation, that wasn't bad. She said we can sign GP, but it's just got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about it. Thanks, Paige.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one. All right, y'all. So, fire interview, man. We got some more interviews coming up, lined up, but definitely give Paige a follow, man. She does incredible work. Y'all know, like I said, I don't really recommend a lot of people's draft stuff, but she knows her stuff, man. I met her. Well, I haven't met her in the person, but I know she's, at the Combine, Senior Bowl, all that stuff. She's wrapped in when it comes to the draft. All right, so let's talk about it. Osa gone for a third. Should have at least gotten a second at least. Traded Osa to the ops, which is kind of interesting. Osa feels like a 49er. He feels like a 49er. But I know, was it this past Monday? Yeah, this past Monday with me and my dog Rome and DMV on Cover 3 Suit to Watch as well. We kind of talked about the Osa situation where I felt that once his name got dangled out there that you were looking to include him in the Maxx Crosby trade, you pretty much couldn't go back on your word, right? So it's like it already gave you indication that, hey, we were trying to trade you, bro. And it's hard to say, okay, well, the trade got pushed back. We want to keep you. So they were definitely trying to move Osa in. I think this is kudos to Cowboys Nation. Someone says Solomon's gone. Oh, Solomon Thomas. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. What did we get for Solomon Thomas? You know what I'm saying? That's probably what, 7th or 8th. But I will say this, right? Kudos. This is literally nothing for nothing. Okay, we just moved on to move on. All right, that makes sense. I would say this, kudos to Cowboys fans. I want to give Cowboys fans kudos. Y'all are growing. And I love it, Cowboys Nation. From when I came into this game in 2020, right? You guys are growing because a lot of us sat back and we watched that Christian Parker interview in that press conference. And the main thing we all said was, what does that mean for Osa? We all said it. We all sat back and watched that press conference and said, what does that mean for Osa? Now, of course, they try to do in typical Cowboys fashion. They did some cover up, right? But we're all sitting, what is this? What does that mean for Osa? What does it mean for Osa, right? So we were on it. So it lets you know that Cowboys fans, right? Not all of us, but some of us, we were on it saying, okay, how is Osa really going to fit in this Christian Parker puzzle piece? And it really felt like there was no fit, right? There was nothing to really do when it comes to Osa Odighizuwa, right? So now we have some, thank you. We all watched the same press conference. Christian Parker only mentioned Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark. He never said Osa. You know what I'm saying? He never even mentioned his name. So that let me know he ain't top of the mind right now. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that being your highest paid guy pretty much on your defense that you just paid last year, your new defensive coordinator. Doesn't even mention him. That was kind of odd to me. Who's this girl that's an expert on football? This is Paige, man. Paige, she does an incredible work. She is the CEO of the Draft Network. So the Draft Network website. She does the Draft Club podcast. I mean, if you go to her profile, she's with the NFL media exec. Like, she is plugged in for real. You know what I'm saying? So you go to her profile, she's talking to every player, you know, but she really loves the game of football. And that's what I love the most about her. Like, she's locked in. She'll be watching film, taking notes. She's at the Senior Bowl. She's at the Combine. She's watching the American Bowl. She's watching all this stuff, right? She really loves the draft, you know? So she's like she's like a crazy like me. So does incredible work. Definitely give her a follow. So she was so kind to be able to join us on the show. And I got more people lined up, man. I met a lot of incredible people, you know, and it's like, all right, let's start bringing these people on to really give y'all insight. So it looks like it was a swap it out, right? What Jeezy say? If it's still in the wrap, we'll swap it out. Swap the 7th and another 7th round pick. All right, for Solomon Thomas. All right, cool. You know, so we'll sit back and see, you know, when things kind of update. I love to see ladies that are incredibly informative like that with football. Facts. She knows her stuff, right? She eats, sleeps, breathes it, man. I need to get her connect her with Aisha, actually, because I think that would be a dope show. So at least we see him during the season, makes up for a good story. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was no. I'm not an Osa hater. I'm really not, right? I liked Osa. Salute to Osa. I mean, I remember, you know, when we first drafted Osa, he did the shout out video for this channel, right? Way back in 2021. You know, so he you know, gave a shout out, you know what I'm saying? Salute to Osa for that. Never had any problems with Osa. I really haven't had problems with Osa as a player. My only problem when it came to Osa was he shouldn't have been the priority in getting paid versus, you know, right? So that was kind of my one thing, you know, like, all right, like, you know, if we would have kept J. Lou and signed the player, you know, or maybe kept D Law, but lost Osa, I wouldn't have really lost any sleep. I'm like, oh, damn, it's unfortunate, but, you know, I understand it, right? But I just never felt like he was a priority guy. Now, did he deserve his bag? I mean, you can argue it either or. But I just didn't think that he was just a priority for the Dallas Cowboys. But why was he a priority? Because this time last year, we didn't have no defensive tackles. You know what I'm saying? So we was desperate and we just made them, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it just, you know, it just didn't feel like, you know, And that has been one of my biggest head scratchers when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. It's just like, yo, we'll pay our Netflix bill. We'll pay Hulu Plus. You know, if you have Hulu Plus, my show comes on tonight, Fear Factor. I mean, watching Fear Factor, me and the wife, right? But we'll pay for Hulu Plus. We'll pay for Disney Plus. You know, we got our phone on. But when it's time to pay our mortgage, I say, hold on, we late. You know, we don't want to pay our mortgage. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, man, sometimes I get it. It's a team-friendly deal or an easier deal. But just because it's easy or team-friendly doesn't mean we have to just toss it out, right? Just because it's, I don't want to say cheap because it's still a lot of money, right? But just because it's a team-friendly deal, we shouldn't just randomly, blindly just toss that out. You know? I just feel like sometimes people do that. Like, oh, okay, Michael Gallup, you coming off an ACL injury. You want to play for the low? Okay, cool. We'll just toss you a bag. Hold on, bro. Like, whoa, hold on. Wait. Chill. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Relax. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's those types of things that I really scratch my head when it comes to the Cowboys, right? If you made Dak Prescott have to prove himself, right? Why didn't Jake Ferguson or Deron Bland have to do the same? I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, that's just because think about this. If you would have made Deron Bland and played hardball with Deron Bland, he probably wouldn't sign right now. I don't think they could shop Bland right now because all the injuries. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they could shop him, right? I think that's the problem with Bland, right? Yeah. Not paying our mortgage is more like rent to own. Facts, Keystone. Facts, Keystone, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that super chat for you, dog. Exactly, man. Like, hey, you gotta take care of the important stuff. I still don't understand what we're doing. I don't know, y'all. And this is why, for me personally, right? This is me, right? I can't speak for other people. We have to sit back and wait and see. I know there's a lot of people saying what Christian Parker's going to do and what he's not going to do and what he's going to do and what he's going to do and going to do and do. But I have to sit back and just watch because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's super early. Yeah, I mean, it's super early. We don't know what is happening. You know, obviously they're doing something. They're trimming the fat somewhere for something. We just have to sit back and wait and see. So I know a lot of people want me to either be super excited about what we're doing or hate everything. I'm just like, okay, I like bringing in Rashawn Gary, who I'm familiar with, right? I like Jalen Thompson. Right? I like some of those moves. I like the defensive staff they brought in, B. Tucker bringing in. So I'm liking these things, but I got to sit back and watch how it all unfolds first before I jump out the window. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Says Tuck, I need one of those shirts ASAP. How do I purchase? I'm getting the website built. So next week I will be on vacation. We're getting the new website built. We're getting everything designed up. You know, I'm going to the vacation. I'm going to the beach with the wifey and getting away for a while. You know what I'm saying? So after we're going to work on the website, get the shirt, get the merch, get the hats all pressed up. And then when I get back, we should be ready to go. And I'll definitely let you guys know because all CFO Gang subscribers will get official discounts that nobody else will have, right? So CFO Gang, y'all have your own private discount to the store. Because honestly, I'm really not just trying to make money off the store. You know what I'm saying? So for you guys, super discounts, all sorts of stuff, free giveaways. Everybody else, you pay what the price is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we need proven players and vets, right? We need proven players and vets. So you know, I really just want to sit back and see where this all unfolds. And I'm with you. And I think this is the civil war amongst Cowboys fans, right? Some Cowboys fans, I want young, I want new, I just want to draft another, versus me. I'm just not trying to gamble my upcoming season on no kids. I want proven commodities. Right? I don't want a third round defensive end having to be the savior of our DN room or a third round linebacker having. I just don't want to lean on that. I'm in win now mode. So if there's proven guys that I can go get me those proven guys, right? If you can go make a move for a Patrick Queen, right? Then go do it, right? I think Greenlaw just went today. So I think Greenlaw's off the market. But if I can go get me those guys, Hargrave's off the market as well. Go get me those guys and then sprinkle the draft on top. You know, draft on top. Now, how much more does Dak have? We need to win now. Exactly. 2-3 years. I mean, from a contractual standpoint. And I saw people saying that, you know, when Paige mentioned that Dak is injury prone, I know it kind of, but if we're being honest, it's always been off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, right? So, I mean, we did go get Sam Howell, you know, but I say 2 years at best for Dak, right? Then people say, oh, he can be an older quarterback. I just think from a contractual standpoint, they're not going to want to pay him that kind of money when he's an older quarterback, right? So unless he's going to do one of those things where he's going to tear up his contract, play for the Cowboys at, you know, super old age, like I don't think it's going to be that case. I think the Cowboys could move on. Now, the only thing I think is going to save Dak Prescott, I don't think the Cowboys really trust themselves in drafting a young quarterback and developing him. So I think that's going to save them. But, I just think that 2 to 3 for me personally, right? You're not going to keep Clayton Adams for long, right? People are going to come calling. You're probably not going to be able to keep Christian Parker for long. You probably got two years, you know what I'm saying? Like people going to come calling, right? So while we have things intact, now is the time, y'all. Now is the time. Chuck, I want to use that third on Arizona State, Maxx Inecker, or am I wrong? Oh, that's what you were talking about. So you were talking about on Maxx. Yeah, the tackle. I don't know, JV. The people get mad at me when I bring up drafting offensive linemen, but I would strongly consider it. But yeah, with that new third, you can maybe move up into the second. Yeah. But I think you could get your linebacker per se with that third. Maybe. Yeah, we got to protect Dak. And here's the thing. It's not just protecting Dak from a offensive line standpoint. It's protecting Dak. When I say protect Dak, right? Is protecting Dak by not making him have to do so much. I think that's where people get it twisted, right? Yeah, of course, you got to protect him from pressure, right? You got to not get his head knocked off, right? But you got to protect Dak from not having to be Superman every game. I want some of those games where we're winning and those Dak haters came in and say, we paid Dak the highest paid contract and he only threw 19 passes. I want one of those recap game videos, live feeds. You know what I'm saying? Man, Tuck, you over here gassing up Dak. He ain't do shit. He was only 17 for 23. He was bailed out by the defense in the run game. I want those comments in my chat next year. Not every game, but just a few games where I want the Dak haters to come tell me, or Eagles fans to come tell me, Dak was carried by the defense in the run game in that win. Give me about 5 of those, 4 or 5 of those. And then when things are really hitting the fan and we need Dak to pull on the cape and be Superman, then he can be Superman. But it's just like, I feel like the way this Cowboys team is currently constructed, y'all, it's Dak or bust. I just feel like we're Dak or bust. Like either Dak is on and we on, or he off and you can go ahead and pack it up and go cut the grass. Let's see here. Tuck, how you feel about Claiborne running back from Wake Forest in the 5th round? I like Claiborne. There's actually a few people that's interesting at the running back position, right? I know she mentioned Emmett Johnson, but there's also the Penn State guys. We'll see how that all unfolds, right? They might be there. You look at the Indiana, Kalen Black. Like, there's going to be some guys running back. I think running back is going to be a situation where it might be not as early as people think, right? We had a top 5 defense in 22 when Dak led the league in interceptions, losses us the game against the 49ers twice. Yeah, possibly. But when defense needed to get a big tackle on George Kittle, they didn't, right? But I would say that 22, that's when we lost to them on the road, right? 2022, right? I do feel like that was one of the ones where, so there's a few playoff losses I would put on Dak, right? The first 49ers at home, that was with Amari Cooper. I would put that on Dak in the offense. All right. The second one, when we were on the road in San Francisco, I mean, you can, but once Tony Pollard went down, The run game was kind of Kellen Moore bailed from it. You didn't have a wide receiver too because you moved on from Mark Cooper, so it was Noah Brown, right? Also, Greg the leg had short circuited out, so we couldn't go for field goals. There was a lot of things that were happening in that game that ultimately led to it, which I still think was a winnable game. So I would put those two 49ers, if you really wanted to be pulling hairs, to put those on Dak Prescott's shoulders. Because I felt like he should have did enough to get us over the hump, but I don't think he had enough. I think if Tony Pollard does not go down, I think the Cowboys win that San Francisco game, to be honest with you guys. That's just me, but that's all hindsight. So yeah. But yeah, I would still like that again. Right? I would still like that again, where you don't have to be a hero every game for the Cowboys to win. Right? But I do like the direction that we're handling. Yeah, was that the Randy Gregory one? Yeah, that was the Randy Gregory, the one at home. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid stuff that goes in some of our losses, right? I mean, that comes down to discipline as well. But it's just one of those things. But I do like the direction the Cowboys are heading in. One, for me personally, I think the number one priority, even though it's not defensively, is to sign GP, right? Get GP done early, right? When it comes to Maxx, I would just call and try for real. You know what I'm saying? I would try for real to go get Maxx. And if not, then I can say I could live with that, right? The fact that I know, like Paige said, the Cowboys offered the highest for Maxx Crosby. And when people got to understand, right? We got to pay the Jerry tax sometimes. You know, Paige just mentioned how Jerry comes in, demands a room with these owners and, right? So it's like, yo, even though the Cowboys are offering the highest that anyone's offering, it's the Cowboys. So I'll make them squeal a little bit, right? So there's a Jerry tax that we have to pay. But the fact that they even thought about it, because y'all know the Cowboys of the past, would say, oh, yeah, we called and we tried about Maxx Crosby. We offered a 3rd round pick. You know what I'm saying? It'll be something crazy like that. But the fact that the Cowboys, they tried it, you got to give some credit, right? So I just think that we're moving in the right direction. My only concern, Cowboys Nation, to be honest with you, is just how much time do we got? You know, how much time do we got, right? But I do feel like we're moving in the right direction. Will you do a 1st and 2nd for Maxx? Absolutely. Because you can tell me, right, you have Maxx Crosby, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, and we brought back Sam Williams, right? That's a hell of a front. And then you got to find ways to plug in your linebackers. But if you can get that front taken care of, that fixes a lot of things for you. Like even if you don't have good linebackers, right? If that front 4 or 5, right, is solid, you can get away with marginal talented linebackers. Now, of course, I wanted them geeked up, right? But I feel like if you give me Maxx Crosby, Quinnen, Kenny, Gary, all right, Donovan Izaraku, right, Sam Williams, for just for conversation's sake, you give me those guys, I can probably get away with Overshown, Amarist, and a crafty vet. You know what I'm saying? I could get away with that, right? A crafty vet, right? We already fixing the safety room, so they're loading up on safety. So I just think that now, if you ever get Maxx, you can simply plug and play. And think about this, y'all. It sounds crazy, but shit. You got Maxx. You traded 2 first, right? Let's say we gave up 12 and 20 for Maxx. Tuck, you crazy. All right. But now you tell me I took the third and I moved up into the second and I got Anthony Hill Jr. or maybe I got Jacob Rodriguez, right, at linebacker, right, or Jake Goldet. Like, say I did that in the second, right? I got Anthony Hill Jr. in the second, so I trade up that third. It's got for Osa. Things are looking a little bit different, you know, or CJ Allen, depending on who's there, right? So you can still cook. And that front, man, it makes life so much easier for everybody. But here's the thing, T, right? And I get it. We're just running mocks. We have to prepare ourselves for situations where there's no Sonny, there's no Bain, no Bailey, no Downs, no Arville, and no Mansour. Right? We have to prepare ourselves for that scenario. Then how do you pivot, right? Because think about, I'm not sure you've seen our mock drafts. We got to prepare, because think about this, right? Remember the Micah draft, right? We were having conversations. I still got the videos up. Hey, J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain? J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain? J.C. Horn, no, I don't like Patrick Surtain, which people are wrong, right? J.C. Horn's a dog, and J.C. Horn isn't bad, right? J.C. Horn is good in his own right, but he's not Surtain, right? Denver Broncos said, bro, I'm taking that corner. Snipe. All right, well, fine, man, whatever. Patrick Surtain got sniped. We'll just get J.C. The Carolina Panthers said, no, absolutely not. Sniped. All right. And then it went from, oh, now what do we do? Right? There was no more Pitts. There was no more Chase conversations. There was no more, Surtain, no more J.C. Horn conversations. Then it was like, oh, shit, what do we do? And it really comes down to the Cowboys traded back. If the Cowboys didn't take either of these two players, that draft class is a massive flop. Massive flop. Massive flop of that draft class. If you don't take Micah Parsons or Rashawn Slater, right, it falls off a cliff. Because who was that class? Let me go back. Let me see here. 2021, right? So if you think about this, hold on, let me put myself on a solo screen. Hold on. For the Dallas Cowboys, listen to this, y'all. The Dallas Cowboys draft well, draft and develop. We're a draft and develop. We are a draft and develop team. Our 2021 draft class, Micah Parsons, X. Kelvin Joseph, X. Osa Digiazua, X. Chauncey Golston, X. Nashawn Wright, X. Jabril Cox, X. Josh Ball, X. Simi Fioco, X. Quentin Bohanna, X. Israel McQuanu, X. Matt Faranoak, X. That entire draft class is gone. From 2021. That's crazy. They're all gone. There is no player from that entire draft class. And think about this, right? This is a similar situation. So let this be a warning, Cowboys Nation, right? Remember what was happening. 2020 happened. The Dallas Cowboys came off their worst historical season under Mike Nolan. They moved on from Mike Nolan, got Dan Quinn. Everybody was coming to my chat saying, Tuck, you can't draft Kyle Pitts. We got to address the defense. 8 of the 11 picks were defensive players, and they all gone. And if you think about it, out of 8 of those 11 defensive picks, we got impact from Micah Osa. 2 of them. 2 of them. Right? So just kind of caution you. We were in a very similar situation that we are today in 2021. And that entire draft class is not even on the roster. And only 2 of them really gave us some impact. All right. So let's not have a repeat of history. All right. So for me, I would encourage the Dallas Cowboys to go out there, handle free agency, and sprinkle that on top when it comes to the draft. Because defensively, right, you can get another in the second round. I ain't going to mention his name because he gets mad every time I say his name. So I ain't going to say his name, right? Micah and Osa, out that entire class, 2 people we got impact from, right? So do not go into the draft hungry, right? Handle things up front in free agency and then go get your needs in the draft. But yo, Cowboys Nation, appreciate y'all rocking for me. I got to dip a little early today because I have another interview, man. Hopefully you guys are liking the interviews. I have a kid coming on the channel, Clayton Powell Lee. He's a DB. Now, he plays for Georgia Tech or played for Georgia Tech. 6'2" safety. Over 115 tackles in his career. Top in the ACC. Not a lot of people are talking about him. But Tuck found him. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, love your film, kid. You know what I'm saying? Reached out to him on Instagram. You want to come on the show? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, yeah, played in the American Bowl. So he's not being talked about a lot. So I got an interview with him in about 10 minutes. I got to jump real quick because he's been so kind of gave us so much time. These kids, man, they're going through so much pressure, man. They're going to the draft stuff. They're going to talking to scouts, you know what I'm saying? So for them to give us 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, man, it definitely means a lot. But like I tell them all the time, I built this platform, and built my platform to spread the spotlight on deserving kids who I think is deserving, and I enjoy it, man. It's not really about the views, because of course no one's searching these kids' name because they really don't heard about them, but they are diamonds in the rough. Think about it, Marquise Bell with a diamond, right? That no one knew about. Wanye Thomas, Terrence Steele, Kavonte Turp. So there are players, and if there's any fan base that should care and kind of poke their ears up when they hear some of these draft diamonds, it should be us, because y'all know we'll go deep. You know what I'm saying? Like Elijah Clark last year and, Isaiah Land and some of those players, right? So we'll definitely turn over every stone to find that diamond in the rough. So that's what we're going to do. Is I got this interview. So definitely check that out. Probably drop that Saturday. Got some more film lined up in the queue as well. More live shows. Salute to my Cover 3 brothers. I'll be out of town next week, but I'll probably still jump on. And then also I'll be covering the Big 12 basketball tournament tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? Thursday and Friday. I'm supposed to do Thursday and Friday, but I'm going to keep it a buck. If my Jayhawks get knocked out, that's the team that I cover. That's the university I cover. They get knocked out, then I ain't going to be covering because they play late night. But I'll doing some Big 12 coverage. So keep you guys posted on that, man. And yeah, appreciate all the support, man. So love as always. The merch will be coming soon. New websites being built, all that fun stuff. It's just a work in progress because I do everything myself, and I'm very particular about how things look and feel and design. Like this hat, right? I could post these hats, but they didn't stitch it like I wanted it to. It's not stitched. So they have to send me back the mock word stitched like I effing asked for before I sell these out to the people. So this is one of those things, man. But, sometimes you can't rush it. You got to kind of sit back and wait. But I appreciate all the love and support as always, Cowboys Nation. Turn that notification bell, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged, And the Cowboys, they're moving the right direction. You got to give them some credit. Let's be patient and sit back and wait and see. Peace, gang.